Most people think of grave diggers as just guys with shovels and wheelbarrows. But the truth is, we live among the dead. We know every sound the earth makes, every shift in the soil. We recognize the weight of silence when something isn't right. Cemeteries may be quiet to you, but they're not always still. My name is Thomas. I've been digging graves for 27 years, and this is the one that made me quit for good. I had just moved to Maine when I started working at Willowvale Memorial Park. It was peaceful. Clean grounds, light traffic, a cemetery bordered by thick woods. Most mornings were the same. Show up before sunrise, prep the new plots, walk the grounds, and sip my coffee by Plot 62, where the sun always hit first. There was only one part of that place I didn't like: the northeast hill. It was older, forgotten. The grass grew in crooked patches, and the headstones leaned like teeth rotting out of the gums of the earth. No one visited there, ever. But every single morning I'd see fresh footprints in the dew. Small ones, bare, like a child's. They always circled the same grave, Plot 113. Then one Monday morning, I got a work order: exhume Plot 113. No explanation, no family name, just clear grave, store remains, reseed. It was odd, but I'd done stranger. The headstone was tiny, weathered, no name. Just a stone lamb and a single date, 1897. I started digging. About 3 feet down, my shovel hit something. Not the coffin. It was a wooden box, soft, waterlogged, and clearly old. I pried it open. Inside was a doll, worn fabric, eyeless, with red yarn for hair. Someone had buried it separately. I set it aside and kept working. That night, I dreamt of a child crying underground. The next morning I went back to finish the job. But the doll was gone. I hadn't touched it. No one had been there. And in the dirt wall of the grave was a tiny handprint. I should have walked away, but I didn't. That night, I heard scratching at my back door. I live alone. When I opened it, there was dirt on the doormat, and on the railing, another small handprint, cold, wet, fresh. Still, I showed up the next morning, determined to finish what I started. When I broke into the coffin, I expected bones, but what I found chilled me to the core. It was a child, maybe 5 or 6. Her skeleton was curled tightly, arms crossed not over her chest, but over her mouth, like she was trying to keep herself silent even in death. And scratched into the inside of the lid, barely visible, were the words, "Do not wake her." I dropped my tools and fell back out of the hole. That night I heard crying again, but this time it was coming from beneath my floorboards. I told the cemetery manager what I found. They sealed the grave, told me not to talk about it. I quit the next day, but I never really escaped it. I've moved 3 times since then, changed states, changed jobs. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the sound of soft footsteps outside my bedroom window, and every morning after, there's always a single muddy footprint on the glass. Some graves should never be opened. Some children were never meant to rest, and some of us dig up things we can never bury again. There's a kind of quiet that only cemeteries know. It's not peaceful. It's watching. I started working at Larkspur Cemetery 2 winters ago, after the last caretaker, Alan, disappeared without a trace. No note, no struggle, just gone, left his boots at the door, and was never seen again. The job came with a trailer on the property, free rent, and an obligation to maintain the grounds and handle the burials. Seemed easy enough. I liked being alone. But from the moment I stepped foot on that property, something felt off. It wasn't just the silence. It was the grave near the back, marked E. Blackwell, 1913. The headstone was elegant, newer than the others, but no one ever came to visit. No flowers, no offerings. And yet, the earth was always disturbed. About 2 weeks in, we had a body come in. Frostbite victim, Jane Doe. The local sheriff said she'd been found near the riverbank. No ID. We placed her in the storage vault as usual, waiting on further instruction. But when I came back the next morning, her body was gone. I panicked, checked cameras, nothing. Then hours later I found her, lying atop the grave of E. Blackwell, perfectly still, as if she'd been placed there with care. Her skin hadn't changed, no signs of decay, no scent. She looked peaceful, too peaceful. I buried her. That night I heard humming, not music, humming, soft, circular, a lullaby, coming from under the floorboards of my trailer. I tried to ignore it, but the next night it got louder. And then I began to see her, the Jane Doe, standing at the tree line wearing the same hospital sheet, head tilted, not blinking, and behind her, dozens of others, pale, expressionless, just watching. The cemetery got colder. My tools began rusting overnight. Birds stopped landing on the fences. Then one night, I dug her up. I had to. Something in me needed to know. And there she was, still perfect. 2 weeks in the ground, no decay, no bugs, just skin like porcelain. I looked into the coffin for a long time, too long, because when I finally looked up, someone had filled in the dirt. I was inside the hole, trapped, and she was standing at the edge, staring down at me, lips curled into the faintest smile. I don't remember how I got out. Maybe I never did. I quit the next day, burned the uniform, left the state. But some nights, I wake up gasping, fists clenched, fingernails full of dirt. I check the mirror and swear I see her reflection behind mine. And always, before I go to bed, I hum a little lullaby I don't remember learning. Something tells me it belonged to E. Blackwell, and she's not done with me yet. I never believed in curses. Not really. I figured if the dead had anything to say, they would have spoken up by now. But after what happened last fall, I can't even walk past a shovel without feeling sick. My name is Ben. I work in a small-town cemetery just outside of Augusta. I've been a grave digger for over a decade, seen bodies in every state imaginable. Car wrecks, fires, suicides. You stop asking questions after a while, until one makes you start asking them again. His name was Jeremiah Coldwell, local recluse. Nobody really knew him, just an old man in a cabin by the quarry. When he died, the coroner said heart failure, but the weird part came after. He had a will, one instruction. I must be buried standing up, facing west, eyes open. We all thought it was a joke. The funeral home laughed. Even the priest shrugged it off. But the family insisted, said it was his dying wish, said he'd paid the price and couldn't lie down. I didn't want to do it. Felt wrong. But a job's a job, and money's money. We made a special pit, deep and narrow, propped him up with steel rods, arms crossed, head tilted slightly upward. His eyes were open. The sun set just as we finished sealing the dirt. And that's when the screaming started. Not from above, from under the ground. At first, I thought it was some kind of prank. The sound was muffled, distorted, but human. It came in waves, like something crying out and being dragged away at the same time. No one else heard it, not the priest, not the family, just me. That night I drank myself to sleep. But at 3:11 a.m., I woke up to find dirt on my bedroom floor, a trail of it from the door to my bed. The next day, I checked the grave. The soil was cracked, and there were footprints, not around the grave, coming out of it. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? Over the next few nights, it got worse. I'd hear knocking on the windows, scraping under the floorboards, sometimes whispering just barely audible, "You stood me wrong." One night I felt something grab my ankle in bed. I flipped the light on and saw it. A handprint made of mud pressed against my shin. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was grief, stress, paranoia. But then I found the photo. In my shed, behind the tool cabinet, a black and white picture of Jeremiah Coldwell, smiling wide, taken the day after he was buried. I burned it, packed my bags, left the town the next morning. But now, it's happening again. Different place, different bed, same dirt. Last night I woke up to my closet creaking open. Inside, it was pitch black. but I could see him, standing, eyes open, facing west.